Okay, folks, let's just say it's going to be an interesting show this week, as I got something to say about one of the most polarizing sports figures of my generation in a little bit. But first, I'm going to talk things about Syracuse. Number one, we found out who the football team is going to be going to, and it's a familiar bowl. Yes, we're going back to the Big Apple, to the Pinstripe Bowl. Actually, with a new sponsor, it's the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. Bad Boy Mowers. Do you think they put a short block Chevy engine in those mowers? Yeah. It'd be great if you get one of those mowers. Right through the grass, right through the ground, right down to the mantle of this planet. That is a mower. Oh. No more home improvement. Of course, I can grunt like Tim Allen, too. But you know what? It's the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. And it is a somewhat familiar opponent when it comes to bowls. Yes, from the Big Ten, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. It'll be the second time we play Minnesota in a bowl game, the sixth time we play Minnesota overall. Yep, it's back to Yankee Stadium for the third time in a bowl game for the Orange. But I kind of wonder, do we always want to go for the Pinstripe Bowl, or do we want to aim higher? Well, you got to talk to Dino Babers and A.D. Wildhack about that. We could have aimed higher. We could have aimed for the Orange Bowl. We could have aimed for the Citrus Bowl. But alas, we're back in New York City. But is that such a bad thing? You know, Syracuse has a lot of alums down there in New York City. And every time we've been to the Pinstripe Bowl, they've made a lot of noise. Of course, the last time we went to the Pinstripe Bowl, let's just say, hey, it snowed, and the West Virginia quarterback couldn't keep his balance. Remember that obvious intentional grounding penalty? His feet, and he had to throw it. But you know what? I digress. If we play in the snow, we play in the snow. And at least it isn't the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. You know, heck, playing in Fenway Park would have been interesting, but of course, after the melee there against Boston College at the end of the game, and of course, finals are taking place around that time, the 17th of December, I can understand why we didn't go back to Beantown to play our bowl. And also, Boston could have a lot of snow. You never know, especially if there's a nor'easter. But I don't want a nor'easter, knock on wood. Because, hey, I might be doing Christmas shopping that day. Who knows? But I'm getting off on a tangent. Syracuse versus Minnesota. And Aaron Judge is home. And I think the Yankees and the Orange kind of have a cozy relationship. And Aaron Judge would definitely approve of the Orange playing in Yankee Stadium for their bowl game. All rise! But you gotta wonder, are the Yankees gonna offer Judge a new contract? A big new contract? We'll see. Now to talk about the other Orange team. It looked as though first the Orange hit rock bottom against Illinois in the last ACC Big Ten Challenge. And Syracuse hung with Illinois for the first half, but then they showed when they don't have depth, they don't have a lot of conditioning, and their defense can only do so much. Illinois pulled out and they routed the Orange. And me and a lot of Orange fans are thinking, is this rock bottom? Are the Orange going to go down? Because, heck, he may be the assistant coach for the Orange now, but remember what Boeheim said about Jerry McNamara. Without Jerry McNamara, we wouldn't have won 10 frickin' games. Boy, that is one iconic quote if there ever is one. Of course, I had to make it PG rated too. But then we came back for our first conference game of the season against Notre Dame. Girard broke out of his scoring funk. Judah Mintz went coast to coast with the winning shot. And Syracuse beats Notre Dame out there in South Bend. Could this be the start of a nice little streak? We'll see. The schedule is pretty favorable until we reach big ACC play. As next up are the Golden Grizzlies from Oakland. And of course, our old friends, Patrick Ewing and the Georgetown Hoyas. But of course, it's always a battle when it's Georgetown. And we'll see. Could we go on a little streak? Maybe this could give us some momentum. We'll see with the Orange basketball team. Who knows? Now I'm going to go from the Orange to something I didn't discuss last week. I didn't really talk about the Bills. I mean, we've been away from home quite a bit. Yeah, couple games in Detroit. But then we go to our old friends, New England, Foxborough. And we play a pretty good game against Mac Jones and the Patriots. Bill Belichick somehow now can't seem to figure out how to beat us. It almost seems like it's Don Shula all over again. As remember how Don Shula just seemed to have a mastery over us when he was the coach of the Fish. But then the 80s and 90s came and we kind of turned the tide against the Fish. Is that the same thing that's happening with Bill Belichick as he enters the later years of his career? Him and Tom Brady just had a mastery over us, but since Brady's departed and gone to the Buccaneers, and again led a comeback win, and I am so sick of seeing his smiling face, that since they've gone first to Cam Newton, now to Mac Jones, heck, we've won 5 out of the last 6 against New England. And we play New England in the season ender, if you know what I mean. But you know what? We seem to have a mastery over Bill Belichick and Mac Jones. But I mean, don't speak too soon. As next up are the Jets. And of course, last time we couldn't stop the run. Plus, heck, Allen has had a little trouble throwing interceptions when he gets inside the opponent's red zone. He did it twice against the Jets in the previous meeting. I mean, the Bills are on a little bit of a roll, but now we get to go back home. Isn't that nice? And I will just say a quick word about our basketball teams. It was tip-off time last week, especially for the Waterloo boys and the Waterloo girls. A couple of big wins for the Waterloo girls against Aquinas and St. Mary's, a school in suburban Buffalo. You know, they were tough, but the core of this Waterloo team's pretty much back. You know what? It's going to be another great season for Coach Bree and Waterloo. Plus, you got to think about Coach Rice and the Waterloo guys team laying a whooping on Bloomfield by 30 points. This boys team looks much improved. And what a way to start for the Minders girls team, putting a whooping on Red Jacket. And the guys team for Minders putting a nice, not really beat down, but a nice little win against Union Springs. It's time for basketball in the Finger Lakes. And last but not least, how about the most polarizing figure in sports, probably in my generation? Moving on to Colorado. Yes, prime time. Deion Sanders is now the head coach for the Colorado football team, coming from Jackson State. You know what? He lured 5-star recruits to go to Jackson State, an HBCU school. And thing is, you gotta wonder, is his aura gonna lure a lot of 5-stars to Colorado, who since their heydays in the early 90s has definitely fallen on hard times? Maybe we can get those Buffaloes to be buffaloed, if you know what I mean. But I just wonder, prime time, are you going to be ticking off Tim McCarver anytime soon? Remember what happened there? Yeah, Tim McCarver disses you, then everybody remembers you throwing water on him in the locker room. Yep. Hey, Tim, I got something for you. Thing is, are we going to have reporters looking at him going, "You're a real man, Deion. I'll say that right now." But you know what? Prime time is now in Colorado. We'll see what happens. And he already said that his son is going to be the quarterback, and he told others to hit the transfer portal. Interesting way for a coach to introduce himself. And I mean, speaking of the transfer portal, it's everybody for himself again. Yes, 3 Syracuse wide receivers have decided to enter the transfer portal. You know what? This transfer portal is really making a mockery of college. I've always thought, you decide where you're going to go to school, you decide where you're going to play. You know what? You stay there for 4 years. It's become a whole thing of free agency. Well, that's what in some ways some college sports have become. Get ready, hang on to your seat. It's going to be the Skyliner at Roseland Park, or should I say, the Viper at Darien Lake. And that's all I have to say this week. I'm Ken Haas, and that's my story, and you better believe I'm sticking to it.